You know, this game has a pretty cool attract mode. It demonstrates quite a few things that a new player might not know, like how bullets can travel through that little space between your head and your body. Take a good look, kids, because I will never attempt this. You're then shown that everyone is actually right-handed and how that can be used to your advantage. Two out-of-reach robots destroy each other, showing you how you can handle distant threats. Then there's this bouncy ball guy that can't be killed, and it also shows you that you can use this like machine gun mode, but it's almost completely worthless in game. Berzerk has such a nightmarish atmosphere, and that's definitely its greatest achievement. The world of this game feels like a retro-futuristic depiction of hell. Chilling cold as opposed to burning hot, electric instead of flaming, mechanical where fleshy should be. You're just green guy who is doomed to roam the twists of this endless robot hive. I don't mean to spoil anything, but there's no escape. I love that even touching the walls kills you, such an inspired little detail. As if the robot world is so caustic to humans that laying a finger on anything causes your heart to give out. Okay, well, let's pop a quarter in this thing, see what happens. Okay, so I'm this green guy, and I gotta kill all the yellow guys. We've got this very simple 8-directional moving and shooting system. This is a very deliberate control scheme. It does feel a little bit rigid, but it never impedes your ability to play the game. The enemies themselves adhere to the same stiff restrictions as you, so it never feels unfair. You need to stop to shoot, so your shots need to be fast and precise. It's no Asteroids, but these controls are miles ahead of most other arcade games from this era. What you'll also notice is the art style, very cold and utilitarian with its blocky sprites and simple colors. I think that the stripped down, bare bones approach suits the tone that they're going for. With games like Pac-Man and Defender coming out the same year, Berzerk is not much of a looker. If it came out like a year or two earlier, it would definitely be impressive, but not for 1980. The art direction definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Well, would you look at that? The robots are red now, and they're shooting back. Okay, so the obligatory arcade fish in a barrel sequence is over for now, so you have a handle on the controls. It's time to get into the meat of the action. The shootouts are always mouth-frothingly intense, and every gunfight is its own little action movie moment. The action in Berzerk has an impressive amount of variety per second. When you start a new screen, it's likely to begin as a close-range slugfest. There is no time to be messing around. To succeed, you must understand the robot's line of fire. They can only shoot in 8 directions like this, and they will shoot every time that the player crosses a line. You need to quickly assess how many baddies have a shot on you and move in a direction that takes you out of their line of fire. The range is too close to be dodging bullets, so we have to dodge them before they're even shot. You're restricted to shooting in the same direction as the robots, so if you can hit them, they can hit you too. Move to an advantageous spot, get your shot off fast, and then move your ass. If you freeze up for a second, you're at risk of getting clapped. After clearing out that first group, you'll usually find yourself in these mid-range, corner-creeping firefights. Cover comes into play, and dodging lasers is now feasible. You still need to be very careful because it's easy to wander into an unseen robot's line of fire and take one in the back of the head. The bullets move just fast enough to be avoided, and pulling this off is very rewarding. As the attract mode demonstrates, your character is right-handed most of the time, and that needs to be taken into account. When using cover, you want to expose yourself to as few robots as possible. Be mindful for what's exposed for you and the robots. You want to try shooting them in the feet, head, and shoulders, but be careful because they can do the same to you. These exchanges can be very intense and may result in the decision to run away. There's occasionally open areas that lead to long-range snipe fests. It's not hard to beat them at this distance. You can actually shoot each other's bullets out of the air, so that may elongate an exchange and add some challenge. Dodging their shots is very simple. However, the difficulty comes with crowd control. You can't let yourself get too comfy and tunnel vision on the clown that you're clapping it out with. There's usually more robots closing in on you, and Bouncy Ball Man typically becomes a problem now. Also, I should mention diagonals. It's difficult to know where exactly your diagonal shots will go, but if you recall, the robots will always shoot at you when you cross a line, so that means that their diagonal shots will always be faster and more accurate than yours. If you have a choice, don't fight from the diagonals. The best way to tell if your diagonal shot will land is to let them shoot you first, which has its obvious downsides. I'll also mention the little green square around the player guy. Anything that comes like close to the edge of you will turn the same color as your sprite. I actually love this because it makes all of the close moments feel like, that much closer. Well, hey, they're blue now. These Berzerk robots are everything I could ask for in a common enemy. The standout feature is the digitized speech. Digitized speech is always creepy, and it's used to great effect here. They're just always chirping your ass out, bragging when they get you, calling you a chicken when you run away, calling you a humanoid even though they themselves are humanoid, calling you it. Their phrases can be remixed and have a random pitch, so it feels like there's more speech than there actually is. Berzerk is the definitive use of digitized speech. All of that intimidation is backed up by the fact that there are no pushovers in combat. There's this amazing sense that each individual robot has capabilities that are equal to the player. A pet peeve of mine is when one enemy in a shooter game doesn't pose a significant threat to you and can just be treated like a mosquito. You really have to take these guys seriously because any one of them will ruin your day the second that you slip up. You can actually have serious, no bullshit 1v1 fights against them and either lose or decide that a fair fight isn't worth it and run away. There's some things that I don't think quite work. The bouncy ball guy is called Evil Otto. He's a smiley face, and I think that's really stupid. Of course, in terms of gameplay, he's amazing and terrifying, and he keeps the game moving along and is a factor in moment-to-moment decision-making. But in terms of story, though, they could do better. Also, the line, "chicken, fight like a robot," doesn't work for me. The chilling tone and grounded gunfighting work so well together that attempts at comedy take away from the experience. Overall, though, the enemies do a good job at triggering that lizard-brained uncanny valley effect. They walk like you, talk like you, but don't seem to be exactly like you. Paired with the stone-cold setting and nightmare-inducing premise, Berzerk feels like a pioneer in that action horror sci-fi genre that would come to dominate 80s pop culture. Well, geez, they're green now, and they're shooting like super fast. You're building up a score now, so it's more important than ever to focus on not dying. Every situation is dire now, and the action feels more dynamic. You're prioritizing safety more and more in your decisions, rather than how many free points you can rack up. If there's too much heat, you should think about bouncing. Fighting for survival is always more interesting than fighting for points. The combat in Berzerk does such a good job at stimulating my imagination. More than any other game before, I can see the action movie in my head. The levels aren't anything special, but their pseudo-random nature leads themselves well to many combinations of different kinds of situations. You might start out surrounded and claw your way out through impossible odds. Or there might be no one around, so it's on you to go on the hunt. Or you'll see them coming and set up an ambush. Or they'll sneak up on you and ambush you. You'll have to weigh the odds of picking off stragglers, or heavy fighting met by an appearance by Evil Otto might warrant an early exit. Now take everything I've said in this entire video, put it in a blender, and that's 30 seconds of playing Berzerk. I said this before, but the variety per second is through the roof. Every 5 seconds is an action movie moment. This is what keeps me coming back to Berzerk. I can seriously play this game non-stop, and that's an honor that precious few arcade games can claim. Oh hey, they're purple now.